and Murf. We talking Raiders and football dirt. Cause we are a new Raider talk show. We having good times, Murf. Let's go. It's Mondays with Mikey and Murf. So, here we are again with my friend. His name is Murf. Where do I begin? We're losing again. It feels really bad, but I'm a Raider fan till the end. Call my dad. He knows the truth. He knows the flow. He knows me and Murf. We really want to go to a Super Bowl soon. Everybody, the Raiders will do it soon. It's Monday with Mikey and Murf. We talking Raiders and football dirt. Because like I said, we a new Raider talk show. We try to have good times. Let's go. It's Mondays with Mikey and Murf. That's right. It's Mondays with Mikey and Murf. Too bad it's not a Victory Monday, Murf. But what say you on this eve of, I'm going to call it disaster?
Well, it is. It's certainly ugly days back once again in Raider Nation. But you know what? We're used to this stuff, Mikey. We're used to 6 and 10s and 4s and 12s and heck, even 2 and 14. So don't act brand new, Raider Nation. We've been here before, unfortunately.
That's what makes us super fans. If you think about it, people are like, you're not a fan because you get mad. You're not a fan because you get disgusted. You're not a fan because you hate on Gruden or what the team's doing. That makes us a fan. Think about your statement. It makes us so passionate. And that's what we are, Murf. And clearly, by the end of the show, we're going to prove that you may be the 100% Raider superfan in the history of the Raiders. We're going to prove that by the end of the show.
Maybe guilty as charged, Mikey. I love it. I'll own it all day.
He'll own it all day till the end of the days. He is Murf. You can catch him on Raiders Fan Radio and MurphFanCave.com. And let's just get into it. We got an amazing show. We're changing up the concept a little bit, so I hope you guys enjoy it. But let's get right to it. It's time for the headlines, breadlines, deadlines. They blow my mind. Murf, what say you about rent?
You don't like to pay it, neither do I. Neither do the
rent sucks.
And the Raiders don't like to pay rent to Oakland either. We'll see if they pay it next year.
Hot take. Ooh, good. That's a hot take right there, Murphy. All right, the quick headline about the game before the game review is that the Raiders offense utterly stagnant in a loss to the Chargers. Just give me a quick, simple summary of your thoughts on the game before the game review.
If I wasn't such a super diehard Oakland Raider fan, then I would have been incredibly uninterested in watching this football game. Mikey, this was a boring football game. There was very, very little to get excited about until the very end when it was practically garbage time. So, kind of uneventful and rather unexpected. You know what I mean? Like all the games to this point, even though we were winless in many of them, they were at least exciting, and there were a lot of things to get fired up for. Great plays, like electrifying plays. Like this game was kind of absent of all of those, so it was a little disappointing, man. This was not a great, fun football game to watch on a pretty good football Sunday. Otherwise,
good point. Just a simple summary. I'm just gonna say, I don't know what happened. We got teased with a top 2, if not top 5 offense. And I don't know what kind of an egg we laid in LA, which is basically hometown for the Raiders. I don't know what type of egg they laid, but we'll get into that with the game review. And trust me, we're going to get into some good details. Let's start with this. This was an interesting tweet from Raiders Beat. I think it came out on Saturday or Friday before the game. They wrote that Khalil Mack reportedly asked for a trade or a new contract to John Gruden and all them because Tank Carradine, the defensive lineman that was brought on in free agency, wanted a release, and they granted him his release. But this is not about Tank Carradine. I don't know what's going on there, if there's dysfunction in the locker room or he's not getting playing time or they're mad about losing. But Khalil Mack reportedly asked for a trade. So was Gruden right about saying that in the media he said, obviously, Khalil Mack did not want to play here? Was Gruden right?
Well, yeah, and I think deductive reasoning tells us that it was to be expected that he asked for a trade. It maybe not, outright and blatantly, but when, the Raiders didn't, quote, reach out to him after they made an offer, and then Khalil Mack and his team made a counter offer, and then it was silent after that, right? That's all what the reports have been. So is it, out of the realm of possibility that the next step was them saying, well, look, if you're not going to answer back and if you're not going to give us the contract or give us a counter offer, then why don't you just go ahead and trade him? That makes sense. I mean, that's kind of the way negotiations flow. So I don't think there's any major shocker reveal there. Do you?
The only shocker was to me is that I don't remember Gruden saying he asked for a trade. You get it? I don't believe we knew those actual words came out of Khalil Mack or his agent. So that's why I was like, when Gruden said, obviously he didn't want to play here. He was under contract. He didn't want to play. It's just, the weird thing is that now it's reported that there was an actual trade asked for by Khalil Mack. So then that made Gruden possibly have to make the decision of literally trading him.
Yeah,
it's like
and this goes back to what we talked about back then, is that, the Raiders were never actively shopping Khalil Mack. It just got to the point where it was an impasse, and they were basically just saying, crap or get off the pot one way or the other. And both teams were feeling that way. So it was just like, well, fine, we'll just make a move, and we'll take the best offer out there. And the Bears and the Jets and the Niners, and there was a whole bunch of people out there, and the Raiders felt that the Bears were going to have the worst of the win-loss record, so they would get the higher graded first-round picks out of the Bears. So that's who they chose. Now, granted, they kind of chose poorly in that. The Bears are playing pretty well, but that's it. So, I don't think any major revelations here, but I guess to formalize it, to help us, kind of conclude it in our brains, sure. Yeah, that's good stuff.
In the words of Indiana Jones and the guy that was protecting the Holy Grail, you chose poorly. All right. But I don't know, Gruden, he was at an impasse. He did what he did. But at least we know that Mack and his camp officially asked for a trade, and that's good to know. All right, in terms of emotions, which were coming off the Khalil Mack trade, and we all, have feeling about it or not, after the victory last week, Derek Carr's brother, David Carr, was in the locker room, and he stated that at that point, because we lost 3 in a row, he said the Raiders locker room, they didn't know if they lost that game against the Browns, how they would feel moving forward. And it kind of scared me to think that the emotions are running that high in the locker room. Let's listen to David Carr, what he spoke about, and then we'll talk about emotions.
Your son, who was at this game yesterday, the whole family was there. Tell me what the locker room was like afterward.
The locker room was fantastic. I think the biggest thing that I got from them was they were so tired after this game. They spent so much emotion getting that first win. I had multiple players say, man, I don't even know what emotions I would feel if I would even be out here talking to you if we weren't able to get that one done. I don't know if we go and win 2 or 3 games this entire season if we weren't able to win that one. So a lot of energy was spent in that game. They wanted to get that one, they did.
Thoughts? I mean, apparently they were so tired. They were tired this week too. And then Gruden in today's press conference said he's depressed. I don't know. The emotions are scaring me and they're boiling over. Your thoughts on emotions and the team?
Yeah, emotions can be fleeting, and you've heard me say before on this show, emotions can be a dangerous thing because if you depend on them to get up or to, motivate you, well, because they're fleeting, then what are you going to do when they're gone? And that's why the approach of never get too high, never get too low, stay even keeled, maintain the course, follow the plan, all that kind of stuff. That's, now look, football's an emotional game. It's an emotional sport. Sports are emotional as a whole. So, and we as fans are emotional, right? But as players and as organizations, yeah, you got to be careful with that stuff because, and that's why, whether you like them or not, that's why people like Belichick have long-term success. And when you look at the way where that even-keeled kind of approach, the Pete Carroll type approach kind of ebbs and flows, right? It's sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. That whole rah-rah college mentality, right? It has mixed results because of the emotion and because it can be fleeting. So I'll tell you what, Mikey, out of those comments and based on that, it certainly tells us, I think, a little bit of an insight why the Raiders might have come out so flat this last week. I mean, because they played a 4-hour football game against the Browns. And like it or not, and whether they're professionals or not, they're still human beings. And yeah, if they truly left it all out on the field against the Browns, there might have been a little bit of a hangover. I mean, I hate that, but maybe that's the reality of it, is that they just couldn't get up as much for the Chargers game because they freaking, you know what I mean? They blew it all in the freaking Browns game. What do you think?
I think, they're professionals and they need to figure out a way to do that after a tough fought game. And then in respects to Gruden, the thing that worries me the most about emotions in the locker room or creeping their way in with wins or losses is that Gruden cannot be like a Bill Belichick. Gruden cannot be like, as you stated, a Pete Carroll with a bare bones minimum type emotions. Gruden is an entertainer. He's always been one. So his emotions are bleeding through. And with wins, there'll be great emotions, and we'll all love Gruden. But with losses, they're kind of getting on my nerves, and they're starting to annoy me because he's showing them. And again, in today's press conference, you probably haven't heard it yet, but he kept saying, we're tired, we're depressed, or I'm depressed. And I'm like, oh, my God, like, don't put that out into the public because we're going to use it against you, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to hear the context of those comments to see if he's, if there's any levity to that or not, or if he's, But yeah, you're right, absolutely though, and that's the thing is that no, you can't. Again, because if you depend on that emotion, then when you're down, you're down, and it's gonna mess with your performance on and off the field. So, yeah, that's it's never a good thing. You know what I mean? That's certainly never a good thing to be that dependent on it.
Yeah, interesting take, man. It's good to talk about because I'm all over the scale in terms of emotions. You guys know this, and I thank you guys for respecting it. This is interesting. Former Raiders punter Marquette King, he only lasted 4 games in Denver. Speaking of emotions, what's up with that guy? He's heading to IR with plans for an official release. And then just give you a little take on that. The Broncos will take on $1.5 million of King's $2 million salary in dead money. As fate would have it, Marquette King will be released or replaced by Colby Wadman, who was with the Raiders when they released him initially in March. And he was the only punter on the Raiders roster at that time. That was until they drafted Johnny Townsend in the 6th round. Townsend hasn't been all that good either until this week, but at least Townsend is not a pain in the ass. Thoughts on Marquette King?
Yeah, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I don't think anybody's going to shed a tear for anything that happens to this guy in his playing career. Pat McAfee, who's a famous punter and kicker for the Indianapolis Colts. Yeah, he was on the Rich Eisen show today, and he was talking about how they had a dysfunctional general manager, and about how there was some discourse and whatnot. And Rich asked him about what he said about it during the time, and he said, "Well, during the time, I didn't say anything." He said after he was gone and when it was the off season, he said then I spoke out. But as the punter, I got to know to not overspeak my role. And when he said that made me think of Marquette King. This kind of stuff is going to continue to happen to this guy because he's the freaking punter. Shut your mouth, kick the football, don't get flags, and you'll have a nice long career in the NFL. But other than that, if you're going to make an ass out of yourself, you're going to be gone because you're the punter. The punter. Oh.
Can I make an audio quote out of that? And we need to make a song. You're the punter with some weird music in the background. He's a punter. That's hilarious. But again, I'm not going to speak on it, but I just thought it's interesting. And look at his stats with the Raiders and the Broncos. They are on screen. This year, he was averaging 44.1 and 7 inside the 20. That's this year. But maybe that's why the Denver Broncos are releasing him, not only for his attitude and his antics, but he was averaging over 47, 48 the last couple years with the Raiders. And even in the first season, he was at 48 yards a punt. And in Denver, you got the altitude. So you would think that if he's averaging 45, 46, 47, that he'd get at least 5 or 6 yards with the altitude in Denver, and it hasn't happened. So he doesn't put in the work, and he's just a entertainer, and it's getting annoying.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more, Mikey. I thought he was going to go and just be a rock star. I figured this guy was going to go and kick it out of the freaking stadium, but obviously, as those numbers show, he certainly did not.
And then, hey, everybody's going to say, Mac versus the Raiders defense. Let's say Johnny Townsend, the guy that replaced him. Let's look at their stats. In 4 games, I don't have it updated to today, forgive me, but in 4 games, he's at 43.9, which Marquette King was at 44.1. I guarantee you Johnny Townsend's average went up this week. He had a great week. He's probably at 45. Yeah. this week. So he's doing better than Marquette King, and I'm proud as hell that Johnny Townsend's on the team.
Absolutely. I think he did great. He looked great in the game against San Diego. But here's the thing. You don't want your punter to look good, right? Another thing Pat McAfee said, he goes, I got tired of coming in and kicking after the offense failed. Like, you know what I mean? Every time Johnny Townsend comes in, it's because we failed on offense. So we don't want him to be good. The worse our punter is, the better our offense is. You know what I mean?
That's a heck of a point, dude. Well, Daryl Worley came back, and then I read something that kind of blew my mind. I didn't know this was a policy because for many years we believed the NFL didn't let players that were on suspension, they didn't let them around the team, hang out with the team, work out with the team, take phone calls. Like basically they were outcast. That happened to Aldon Smith and a lot of players that possibly could have been helped by the Raiders or their respective teams. But Daryl Worley, apparently he was allowed to work out, go to meetings, and be around the team during his 4-game suspension. So, and they wrote about it in the article. It's a new NFL PED policy where they're trying to bring players, or give them some help. What are your thoughts on this? Is it too late? Is it good? Is it bad?
Well, like a PED suspension, like what Julian Edelman had, that was for PEDs or for something that got detected in his system. Daryl Worley's suspension was due to the NFL conduct policy because he got drunk and passed out in his car and had a gun in there and resisted arrest. So his suspension was a little bit different. So I'm sure that there's some language in the contracts and the CBA that allow for a player to participate in one thing and not another. So maybe that's the difference here. And so, the end result is, this is good news. And from all reports that Worley might end up being your either number 1 or number 2 corner. Apparently, Kerryon Conley's looking at being the new slot guy.
We're actually going to get into that in a minute, but I'll go on.
No, that's it. Cool. We'll get to it later.
Yeah, okay, so you brought up a good point. The way I read it, I thought it was a new policy for everything, but you're right about Daryl Worley. I'm going to have to look into was Julian Edelman around the team with PEDs. Yeah. I don't know, but the way I read it, I thought it was like, it said a new NFL policy, but I didn't know the difference between PEDs or the other problem, so I got to look into that. But still, I think it's good. I think if it's not with the actual PEDs, I think they need to add that because, a drug problem, people need help. Yeah. And they need to be around the team.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to, that's what you don't want to do to an addict is isolate them. You know what I mean? So absolutely. If it's and that's where I say that if this was a, and I don't know. It depends on what drug it is and what the conditions are and all that kind of stuff. But but I'm with you though. You definitely want to keep them around, especially like a guy like you brought up Aldon Smith. I mean, absolutely no hatred for him because my heart goes out to a guy like that. You know what I mean? Like I feel for him. Like there's much bigger things than football going on in that guy's life that I'm rooting for him to get together. You know what I mean? Get his life together first and foremost. I mean, I think football's a done deal for him at this point anyways, but you're right. The last thing you want to do is exclude them. That's not what you want to do with somebody that's dealing with the challenges of addiction is, isolate them and send them off by themselves. That's no good.
I completely agree. And if it's not truly adopted right now for PEDs, I really hope it is for the NFL and for the players' sake moving forward. Because there's a lot of drugs out there, even prescription drugs that could hinder our ability to live. All right, Raiders have a top 5 offense still. They were number 2 coming into the week, and we had a bad week. We're in week 5. We're still a top 5 offense, but we got the losingest record out of the top 10 on offense. And, I mean, this looks amazing, but it also looks bad in the stats with our record. And then almost 9 out of those 10 teams are from the AFC. Can this continue? Can this continue, Murf? A top 5 offense for the Raiders.
I mean, it certainly didn't look top 5 this last week. And, the numbers that we put up against the Browns certainly did some help to inflate those numbers. But, I mean, gosh, I don't know, Mikey. We're going to have to see a lot more consistent production. And, well, we'll get into more later. But those 1st and 10 interceptions. You know what I mean? We got to get away from doing stuff like that. There's no way that we can maintain this kind of momentum of being in a top 5 and then have those kinds of plays kind of dictate and define the offense. You know what I mean? So, can we? Sure, but I think it's pretty much up in the air whether we're going to be able to or not at this point. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the numbers, of course they're inflated. Whether the averages are correct every week or not, I'm not going to get into that, but we have a potent offense. Long story short, we have a potent offense, and we just haven't figured it out yet, and we'll get into more detail. But on the other side of the spectrum, we have a top 5 offense. We got basically a top or bottom 5 defense. But these are the overall grades of the best players on defense from Pro Football Focus. And look, some of the players you would think that should be on that list are not even on there, meaning a Markel Lee. Who else can I call out? Reggie Nelson is high on there. Who else? Arden Key. But it's just weird. But look how low the numbers are for the players behind Maurice Hirsch. We got a pretty not good defense, man. I'm just saying we suck. I don't know what's going on, Raider Nation.
Yeah, those are rough. And, in those PFF grades, I don't understand. Those guys are geniuses over there, the way they're able to interpret and analyze numbers. And I don't understand the everything behind it. But, you would think there's certainly those names are not the ones that you would certainly not expect. And, as an overall, the whole team is down in terms of that. So that's not good. It's not good. But that's just another indicator, right? It's another indicator that things aren't going well. So, whatever.
You're very intelligent on this. Is an overall grade 100 on defense?
Yeah, I think that's the maximum number. But what I don't understand about the PFF grade is what all feeds into it. You know what I mean? I don't understand all the formula. I don't understand the computations of what goes in and kicks out that number. That part of it I don't understand. I understand.
And again,
its relevance 1 to 10 essentially, but what it actually goes into that. What percentage, for a defensive lineman is, sacks, pressures, tackles for loss, you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. I don't know how all those fit and what grades they get and what those numbers account for. Be an interesting study. Be a great question for somebody like an Austin Gale or any of those guys that work for Pro Football Focus.
Well, and QBR. I've read people have QBRs of 105. I thought it stopped at 100.
No, QBR, and there's QBR, that's the ESPN thing, and then there's the actual quarterback rating, that's what, 156.3 or 153.6. I always mix them up, but those are the max numbers that you can get. Yeah, so it's just here's the thing at the end of the day, football is just a hard game to tie stats to because you can't measure heart. Baseball, it's pretty easy to measure a team's and a player's productivity and proficiency by the stats, but football, you just kind of can't do that. There's some indicators, but you can't look, heck, if teams were awarded rings on paper, then you know what I mean? We'd be a lot better than what we are.
All right. I made a quick little video on Reggie's draft picks up until 2017, and I don't consider 2018 a Reggie draft in summary, but he had 50 picks and only 11 players are left on the team, and that's a 19% success rate. And again, you can review it till the cows come home. But do you think Reggie, with all the dispute that they have 2 different staffs, and it looks like a Gruden purge with all the picks, all of them. That's just from my outset view. It looks like the Reggie McKenzie picks are being purged, not the free agent picks, but the draft picks. Do you think Reggie will be fired in 2019?
Well, I'm going to base my opinion based on Bill Barber, the guy that wrote the article in the Santa Rosa Press-Democrat. He is still a reporter, an active reporter, sports reporter for the Press-Democrat. And I asked him this very question, and I said, in your eyes, how long can these two coexist? And his response was, so I'm going to base my opinion based on his response because I trust him. He said it's going to be up to Reggie and how long he decides that he can work under these conditions. Because basically, we know that Gruden is making the call on personnel, and Reggie's going to be the contracts guy. Now, he's not a lawyer, so the legalities of the contracts necessarily aren't Reggie's responsibility, but the overall structure of them, guaranteed money, length, all that good stuff, that's probably still going to fall under Reggie's responsibility. So how long does Reggie want to exist in that role without having as much input on the actual selection of players. He's going to be the figurehead. He's going to be the guy that comes out at the draft and announces things and whatnot, holds a press conference, but that's really going to be his role. So, so what's the answer to that question? I don't know. These guys all have egos. That's why they're in the positions that they are. So I don't see Reggie dealing with being a lame duck general manager for years to come. So I'm saying probably next year, probably 2019, he's still our GM. After that, or let's say this, he probably doesn't ever see Vegas. I would just say that.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. With all the dysfunction, according to the media, between Gruden, McKenzie, having two different staffs, McKenzie saying that, he never wanted Mac traded, and I'm sure Gruden didn't want him traded, but whatever, it hit home. And I just felt like Reggie should have been fired the minute Gruden was hired. If Gruden knew he was going to make the team his own or purge players to create his own dynasty, I don't know. It feels like, I know he wanted to respect McKenzie, but I don't know. I think he's going to be fired, long story short, and he's going to be he's the fall guy right now. Yep. With all the picks being purged. I mean, even Gary Hunt-Connolly, we're going to get into that in a minute. So I don't know. But yeah, I think he'll be fired. And one thing, again, I don't know why I'm saying this, but it annoys the hell out of me about Gruden, again, because he's an entertainer. But Gruden weekly continues in press conferences praising the other team's players after a huge loss. John Gruden talked about Phillip Rivers in this last game, and he told reporters, yeah, he's amazing, isn't he? I mean, do you have any issues with Gruden praising rival players after a loss? Not before the game, but after a damn hard loss.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain amount of grace that I think is okay and accepted. I mean, I don't like Phillip Rivers at all. Yeah, I don't like, he's the player that I like least out of anyone in the entire NFL. So, and for a litany of different reasons, including, Mikey, the fact that the guy scooches up on kneel downs. Did you notice that? Like, everybody else in the NFL takes the snap and steps back a half a step and takes a knee. He scooches up so he doesn't take a loss on the play.
Yeah,
like,
you don't want to lose the yardage.
Gosh dang it. Like, that's a-hole moves, man. Like, I can't stand that kind of stuff, right? I can't stand him barking on the sidelines. And it just so, yes, this bothers me that John Gruden says anything positive about Phillip Rivers because I don't like Phillip Rivers. But now John Gruden is not a fan, and John Gruden has no reason to not like Phillip Rivers. But yes, there is. I think there's a certain amount of graciousness to show the other team that, hey, look, they played well. As long as he's not, being all Johnny Gumdrops, as they used to call him when he was in the Monday Night booth, as long as he's not going on and like gushing about him, then I think a certain amount of it is okay. Just as long as he says what he's got to say and then move on from it quickly, no harm.
That's what I mean. Most of us just don't talk about it. It's a salty loss. Gruden even said today he was depressed, but he goes into that Monday Night Football analyzation mode where he thinks he has to perk up everybody so hopefully he can get an interview when his career is over. If I talk good about him now, that's all the footage that will be out there. So maybe in the future I can get an interview or something. I don't know. I don't like it. And I just don't talk about it after a loss because that's going to hurt Raider Nation. It's going to hurt the purist in me. So just, in my opinion, shut the F up.
That's fair. And that was a knock against him when he was in the booth. Everybody used to say, oh, he's so nice to everyone because he doesn't know where he's going to go coach again, so he doesn't want to offend anybody because he might be coaching them at some point. So, I think that's fair criticism, Mikey. I'm with you on that.
All right, quick question. This year, not in general, Murf, you like to generalize the entire, organization, and you're positive about everything. Look, I'm going deep, Murf. This year, panic or patience?
If you're asking me, it's got to be patience, but not because I like it. And I'm typically on this kind of stuff. I'm a pretty impatient guy, especially since we see teams every year in the NFL turn things around. There's always a team that comes out of nowhere, right? There's always a team that overachieves and a team that underachieves. And, so who knows? It might be the Bears this year, right now sitting at 3-1, right? Like somebody always comes out of nowhere that you don't expect. So there is a case at times that things turn around quickly in the NFL. So the impatient part of me says, come on, Raiders. Like at any time, this could just completely turn around. But I also understand this. The reason that the Raiders let Khalil Mack walk was because they felt they weren't in a position to contend right now. So now from top to bottom, when you looked at our roster, the coaches and the organization didn't feel like this was a team that was going to be a Super Bowl contender. If they were, then they wouldn't have let him go. Like that's just a matter of fact of it. So I understand that this is a long-term build, and because of all the dysfunction that we talked about already tonight that has gone on in Raider Nation since Gruden left and even before he got there the first time, because of all the history of dysfunction and losing that we've ever had, and the only time since 1983 that we've been good with any consistency was when John was there last time, I'm willing to be patient. Now, my patience knows a bounds. By the time we get to Vegas and year 2 or 3 into this, then we're going to certainly expect results. And if we don't, I'll be screaming from the rooftops. But until we get to that point, I'm willing to simmer and I'm willing to watch how this thing unfolds.
I'm pushing the panic button. I'm pushing the panic button. I'm going crazy, Murf. Why? Well, I'm going crazy. I'm in panic mode. I'm making videos daily. I'm freaking out, Murf. I'm scared because 2 years removed from a playoff team, we're not that much removed from it. And you stated that they believe we couldn't attend this year. That's why they're rebuilding and they're trading players and whatever. But the players don't believe that. The players know or believe in their heart that they can contend, especially 2 years removed. So it seems like these decisions are being made beyond, the players' thoughts or feelings. But I guarantee you the players are starting to panic a little bit. The emotions in the locker room, and it's what's going on. I'm in full panic mode, dude. So that's for this year. In general, yeah, patient. We're going to Vegas. We're going to get a winning team. Yeah, that's cool. But I'm panicking, Murph.
Well, I think you're right too, and the idea about the players, like to this point, they're still in. No one's criticizing everybody openly. There's no dysfunction. We're not, you say we're 2 years removed from a playoff spot, but don't forget, man, we had a pretty dysfunctional 6-10 last year with this team and under Jack Del Rio. So we did have a serious case of regression that, and I'm not talking about you in particular, but a lot of the feedback that I see online is that people are saying like, we were just a playoff team. Well, yeah, until we crapped the bed last year and we're awful. So let's not just like exclude that just because we want to serve our story better. The team was not good. Like we had a bad run last year and the team was very dysfunctional. So we're moving past all that. We're growing again, but I'm with you though. So far as of right now, players are all the way in, but when they become disheartened, we'll know. You'll see. Look at Michael Crabtree on the sideline last year at the Chargers game. That's when you know the players are out of it. So as of right now, they're still in it. They're still buying in. Look, they still played. I mean, that's the other thing too. All those teams, all those bad Raider teams in the past, Mikey, would give up at a certain point. They didn't give up Sunday. At least they still played, right? They still kept bringing it. They weren't successful, but you didn't see a loss of effort, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. I saw that too, and I'm proud of it. But some might say last year, emotions bled into the locker room as well, with politics or whatever. Yeah. And that kind of messed up the team. This was an amazing meme that I saw online. It said, watching the Raiders game be like, I have a bad word on there, but it's on my channel, not yours. But it's funny as heck. It's like, I got pain in my chest. Call life alert. My heart can't take this. For every Raider game, like somebody wrote that their doctor told them they're going to have a seizure watching Raiders this year. All right, it's time for the game review. We are moving right along. And again, the top headline is the Raiders were utterly stagnant in a loss to the Chargers. And, we're going to get into major details. This is a new, different segment than we normally would do. We would normally show stats and everything. But there are headlines with every game. Headlines that come out later that night or the next morning. So I figured let's break down 5 headlines weekly of what happened as a result or during that game. So here he is, headline number 1, before the game even started. Apparently, the LA Chargers trolled the Raiders when they were coming onto the field with the theme song, Viva Las Vegas. Yeah, I'm mad that we lost because that troll was good now. My goodness, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if the LA Chargers got room to be trolling anybody in terms of where they play And especially when you look at the way that game was attended, it's 3/4 Raider fans at the stadium. And look, you know this better than anybody. LA is a Raiders town, and the NFL dropped the ball when they went through this whole relocation process. The most popular team in Los Angeles is going to Las Vegas. So, okay, they won the game, and it's fair enough. This kind of stuff. I like this type of jabs, taking jabs at one another, but they just, in the big picture, they look silly.
Yeah, it's a reminder, to the real bred Oakland fans that they're leaving, and it annoyed us. But in summary, you said it was an LA town, which it is. It was a home game. And then Gruden, in the press conference, I believe it was yesterday or today, mentioned that, they had some missed calls or snaps on the offensive line because it was too loud. That's because Raider fans were cheering. Yeah. But the truth is, you're supposed to be quiet when the Raiders are on offense. But it wasn't a Raider crowd, to be honest with you. But it was a good troll because I hated it. So it worked for me. Raiders' Colton Miller played all 52 snaps, but apparently, I know he was on the report early of the week on day 1 of practice, but he had a grade 2 MCL sprain. Should he have played? He's a rookie? I don't know. That bothered me when I saw it.
Yeah, sometimes with these knee injuries, and I don't know enough about a grade 2 MCL. I'm sure somebody can Google it right now and get the details on it. But I know a lot of times with these injuries, they'll let them play as long as there's not a case where they're going to do more structural damage. Like if you do damage and you're not going to hurt it any worse, it's just going to hurt. It's just going to be pain. It's the old, are you hurt? Are you injured? Well, I would trust that it's just because he's hurt. He's not going to injure it any worse. It's just going to bother him while he's playing. So that's a testament to this guy's toughness, man. I love it. I think this is a great story, especially considering that we had the 2 rookies on bookends this year and played relatively well. Brandon Parker probably's got some plays he wanted back, and same thing to be said for Colton Miller. But if you add in the fact that he was playing on an injury, oh my gosh, this is one of the better stories, I think, of our season so far, is the play of certainly of Colton Miller and the emerging now Brandon Parker.
Yeah, going into this game, if I knew this, I was scared when they announced Osemele out. I already knew that was a scary thought with rookie right tackles and left tackles. And now that I found out this after the game, should this have been announced the week before on the injury report? But now that I found out, it scared me even more for Derek Carr. And I don't know. It's a good story that he played, but I'm looking at it like, oh my God, that O-line going into that game. No wonder Derek Carr was scared AF.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Osemele being out. There's the one that really stings. Is old Mongo Feliciano is not playing well. He was awful at center early on. In the preseason, we saw him snapping the ball over quarterbacks' heads, and he got trucked plenty of times in this game. He's not a good backup option there. I think we got, and look, me, I don't get too caught up over backups, but we got to do something there to address obviously we have, I think, our starters now as far as the bookends go, but the depth of our offensive line, not so much. We're way shallow right there. We don't have anybody capable of coming in, because when you look at the drop off there, you look at Osemele, who's an all-world guard, to Feliciano. It's not even close, man.
Yeah, and then it just worries me about the injuries. Again, I'm just throwing this out there because I worry about everything. But, a lot of the offensive linemen are getting injured. Is the athletic staff that's brand new doing their job? Is it the play calling? Is it that they're trying to run with Lynch? Is it because they're young players? I don't know. It's just very interesting, our O-line, and it doesn't look good right now. So let's get to the biggest, worst, the decision on one
the decision.
And one. The decision, the Lynch decision for the 4th time in a row. We'll get into stats in a minute. But your quick thoughts on them bypassing Marshawn Lynch again for the 3rd time this season on 1-1.
Mikey, I'm going to say this. The Los Angeles Rams had the ball and I'm not sure the exact yardage and the exact distance was, but because I didn't watch that whole game. I was watching the Raiders game, so I wasn't, and I watched a bunch of football this week, so I wasn't watching the Rams and Seahawks exclusively every single play. But I do know this. I know that in goal and like a yard to go, right, on first down, they ran Todd Gurley 2 times, and he got stuffed 2 times. And you know what they did on the third play, on third down?
Ran him.
They ran Todd Gurley, and he scored a touchdown. So what am I missing?
Well, Gruden in the back of his mind, Marshawn Lynch wasn't having the best day, and then the offensive line was injured, and I don't know why they went to that trick play. Well, the point is, it's Marshawn freaking Lynch, and this is the 3rd time they've done it this year. Just Marshawn dove last week. He went over 12 players, 13 players to get a touchdown last week. Marshawn will do that over an injured offensive line to get it to him. Feed the beast. I don't know what's happening. Look what Marshawn had to say after the game. He said, when asked about it, he goes, I done seen it. Should I give an accent? Is that rude? If I try an accent, I done like a pop culture accent. I done seen it happen to me on the game's biggest stage. Now it's happened in a regular season game. It's all right, though, because I'm Marshawn. Beast Mode, buy my merch.
Since he joined the Raiders, Mikey, Oakland has had 13 plays from the 1-yard line. 6 were passes, with 2 of them going for touchdowns, and then the interception on Sunday, and then also an offensive pass interference on Crabtree. Marshawn has 3 touchdowns on 5 runs. Olawale scored a run scored on 1 run. And Keith Smith was stopped against Denver. Carr has never tried to sneak from the 1-yard line in his entire career. And when you look at that, when you hear all that, 3 touchdowns in 5 runs Marshawn has. Give him the gosh dang ball, man. I don't understand. And look, I'm a Derek Carr apologist. You know that, and I'll continue to be. But he has got to figure some of this stuff out when it comes to the situational awareness. And in his press conference right after the game, he said, well, if you would have seen it on film, you'd have saw what we'd have saw. And I got out there, and the play looked good. You know what? Look, BS, Carr. I'm sorry, number 4. Dude, it did not look good. That is not, you can't in that situation throw that pass. That is 110% on you. Some of it is sure it can be on Gruden for the play call, but you can check out of that sucker. You can do something. The Raiders from top to bottom are at fault on this. Everybody except for number 24, but especially number 4. I mean, it doesn't matter if I hold them or you hold them accountable or not as fans, because it's still going to happen. But I think that conversation needs to start happening more often. Look, I love Derek Carr, and I'm glad he's our quarterback, but that was dumb. And he's doing some dumb stuff in the end zone this year, man. You cannot turn a ball over in the end zone.
On first down, not only in the end zone. Every time after a big play on first down with the game on the line, Carr is making up his own decisions. Why doesn't he have the balls to know to run the ball to Lynch, let the players win on the field? Remember 2 seasons ago in a video, he said, I'll just give my players a chance. I'll just give them the bear. I'll give them a chance. This year, he's not going against Gruden. Whatever the play call is, he's not fighting it with Gruden. He's not changing it. He doesn't want to, make Gruden mad if he says, you know what, we're running the ball to Lynch. Lynch, score. Lynch, score. Do that one time against Gruden. Prove it. It just boggles my mind. And Gruden today in his press conference, boy, I got fired up right now, didn't I? Gruden admitted fault for the play call today. He
good.
It. So
good.
I'm proud of that in the press conference. But still, you're right. Derek Carr's awareness is ridiculous. Everybody knows to run the ball 2 to 3 times. Then if it's 4th down, don't go for the field goal. Then you could try a damn trick play on 4th down. But go for it 3 times with Marshawn Lynch on the 1st yard line.
He's got 5 of Derek's interceptions this year are on first down. 5. So it's not like he's forcing the ball downfield trying to convert on the 3rd and long. These are on first downs, man. And they're usually, it feels like, I don't have the play charts, but it feels like it's after a big play. Like after the momentum has gotten going, and then boom, there he throws a pick. And it's just like, it's brutal, man. I'm telling you, I'm with you, Mikey. And old DC's got to pick it up, man. Look, again, I love him. I'm glad he's our quarterback, and I think he's the guy. But, man, you're in year 5 now, dude. You're in year number 5. Fifth-year veterans that get paid $25 million a year don't make that play. Come on, Derek. Let's start acting like what we are. And you are the man, so be the man. Where I'm disappointed is that, and you talked about this last week, about how you thought, that we're missing some of the fire that existed between Gannon and Gruden. It's because and now you listen to Derek in a press conference, he says, my job is to get us in the play that's most favorable to the coverage based on what the coaches want me to do. So he's a yes man. Gannon wasn't a yes man, but Gannon was also 35 years old. So we'll see how Derek Carr evolves, because I'm with you. In situations like this, I think it's okay to push back a little bit. I don't want Derek to just be the yes man all the time because of that fire that you said that he has, because of that self-admittedly he has. Well, then let that come out a little bit. And it's okay to push back against your coach. But you got to have cred to do that, though. That's the thing, is that you got to be in the midst of an MVP season like Gannon or whoever else. You got to have the cred of a Dan Marino or even a Phillip Rivers to do that. Right now, what cred does Derek have? He really doesn't have a lot yet. He's still kind of young in this whole thing.
Yep. Paul Gutierrez put some stats out there that are pretty interesting. Since the start of Super Bowl, whatever, I can't tell the numbers, teams have now thrown 4 times at the 1-yard line with Marshawn Lynch on the field. 4 times. Following Derek Carr's interception, those passers that threw the ball are 0-4 on those exact 4 times with 2 interceptions. Give the ball to Lynch. And Lynch was seen after the interception almost throwing his helmet in disgust or in pain for whatever reason. I mean, oh my gosh, it just hurts.
Yeah, so last thing I'll say on this is, and I'm with him, and he should be frustrated, but here's the kind of the bottom line of all this, and while I'm not to take away anything that we just got done saying, but this isn't why we lost the football game. And really, how much momentum would have changed? We'd have still been down, 10?
10, yeah.
You know what I mean? So there were much, much bigger things in play than this. As disappointing and as frustrating as all of this was, don't let this Raider Nation be your defining moment of why we lost this game. It had really very little to do, frankly. Derek Carr, other than this, played a pretty good game. We have some other major gaping holes going on in this football team, and that's what cost us the football game.
I beg to differ on that statement. You say it's not why we lost the game, but in a general statement, I say it is why we lost the game. Not that individual game, but why we're losing games. Because of the decision-making by Derek Carr, by some of the play calls, by the game plan. Like, I just don't understand it in general. So that, in my opinion, is why we lost the game, as well as losing games in general. But, if you go and look at that exact moment, that exact game, possibly not why we lost it, but I believe it is, man, in general, like why we're losing the decision-making. Look what this fan wrote. He wrote, why do the Raiders have Marshawn Lynch? 4th and 1 at Denver, pass to Keith Smith. 4th and 1 at Miami, rush to Keith Smith. 1st and goal on the 1, LA Chargers, Derek Carr pass. 3 plays where you utilize Marshawn, no questions asked. Everybody agrees. No questions asked, you give it to Marshawn. But those were exactly 3 plays where Gruden didn't, and the Raiders have failed. If there's a 4th time Lynch doesn't get the ball in that situation, Murf, I'm quitting. I
think at this point you got to just do it just so you can say that you did. You know what I mean? Let him get stuffed. Let him get stuffed 3 times and kick a field goal, man. I'm with you. At some point, you just got to go ahead and do it, Raiders.
Especially, he's been balling out this entire year.
And he's been doing well.
He's been diving at the goal line. He's been doing his best to win. Marshawn is not the Marshawn that we had in the beginning of last year. Marshawn is fighting.
Yeah,
just give him the ball.
We're done. This is a case of being too cute, man. You can't overthink yourself. And this was a case where, as good as Gruden is as a play caller and as a planner, he outthought himself on this one.
All right. Speaking of outthought himself, and I believe this was the worst game plan. Whoever made it, I believe it was the worst game plan in the history No, I can't say the history of this year so far. And Amari Cooper is frustrated with the one target to Amari Cooper, who the offense is supposed to be centered around. And, this is what Gruden said in his post-game press conference. And again, whether you guys call me hating on Gruden, I don't care anymore. I'm done. He said this about not calling Amari Cooper's, targets or whatever. He's like, we called his number, said Gruden of Coop. Just because he isn't targeted doesn't mean we aren't trying. I mean, he was the primary several times today, and he would tell you that. But sometimes the opposition tries to take away some guys, and then you have to go other places. You know what? Throw him the ball. If he's I don't care whether he's covered. Have faith in him. Let him jump up. Let him be an Antonio Brown. Let's find out what we got with Amari Cooper. Yes, why is your offense centered around, let's go to that player? No, let's go to this player if they're open. That sounds too statistical. Sometimes play football. Throw the ball to your main dude. Let him make a play. Stop forgetting about, the first read, the second read. Derek Carr was thinking this. John Gruden was thinking that. Throw him the damn ball. I wish he was a diva wide receiver right now, like Odell Beckham. I don't know. What's the issue with this? Who do you blame? Talk about it, Murf. All
right. Well, Cooper led all Raider wide receivers with 50 of a possible 52 offensive snaps on Sunday, and he caught one target for 10 yards. And Seth Roberts, in the meantime, had 7 targets on 28 snaps. So here's what I think, Mikey, is that, number one, there's only one guy that throws the football. And so you can blame game planning and calling all you want, but at the end of the day, there's only one guy that drops back in the pocket and fires the ball, and that's Derek Carr. So he's got to be culpable in this. And the other thing is Amari Cooper, in where I don't understand why in his career, as talented as he is, that he just disappears for games at a time. And Derek Carr, in his press conference, he mentioned that, they were covering him. They were putting guys on him. They were putting their best on him. Well, again, I'm going to push back on DC again, because Julio Jones gets their best. You know what I mean? Antonio Brown gets the best. You know what I mean? Go down the list. AJ Green, whoever. You pick the best wide receivers in football. Well, they get other people's best too, but those guys still find a way to get open and to get invested into the game. So, go away once in a while, sure, but why is it 4, 5, 8 times a season is this guy that's supposed to be this generational talent on offense? Why does he just go away? So is that Derek or is that Amari? Is it a combination of both? I don't know, but one way or the other, Mikey, this is not a guy you're going to pay a $17 million a year contract to. You know what I mean? This guy's up for big money here, and this is what we're getting out of him? So I don't know, man. So you, Mr. Conspiracy, you could say, well, the Raiders are intentionally keeping him out of the game plan because they don't want to pay him, right? You could come up with all kinds of crazy theories, and the thing that sucks is that for somebody for the way my mind works, I can't refute that. I don't know what's going on. Why does this guy disappear? We've seen him make some of the most obnoxiously amazing catches, doing double jumps like Mario Brothers, breaking guys' ankles on routes, getting himself up. We've seen him do incredible things on the football field, and he just completely goes away. So why? I don't know. I don't have an all 22 film tape, and I haven't sat down and watched it all, Mikey, but something is funky with Amari Cooper, and I don't know what it is. And the fact that he still drops the ball all the time.
But in the words of Gruden, and I'm going to say this once again, this is why it makes me so salty, but sometimes the opposition tries to take away some guys, so we have to go to other places.
Is that him?
Their best.
Do you think that's him covering for a Cooper? Though, see, to me, I take that that's Gruden saying, well, look, man, sometimes it's just not gonna work out. So don't worry, Amari, you're good, man. You're still our guy. Sometimes
you think Gruden covers for players?
Yeah, I think this is just like you would tell your kid, oh, it's okay. Get him next time, Tiger. I think that's what he's doing. Now, I don't agree with that. I think you should hold the guy freaking accountable. Again, he's in a major contract year. Our offense is sputtering at times, and we need him, man. We need him.
Carr as well, though. Carr as well. You're completely right. With Derek Carr is at fault. Again, whether the play calling, really focused on Cooper, I don't know, but Derek Carr is at fault as well. Long story short, but did Amari Cooper go out of the slot a lot to get him off of that player? Was the game planning correct? You get it? Did they take Amari Cooper and put him in a different position where their best, Casey Hayward, wasn't able to? You get it? The game planning, it It was off in my base. And speaking of the conspiracies, let's move on. Gary Connolly, I thought he was doing great. I thought everything was copacetic. But apparently, for the previous 2 weeks, he's been losing snaps. And why? Is he injured? Is he disgruntled? Does he suck? Is it the Gruden purge continuing? What is going on with Gary Connolly?
I don't know, man. I'm with you. I mean, again, I don't have the luxury of watching all the game tape of every snap. And, because with corners are funky, right? Because when you don't hear about them, sometimes that's a good thing. Like, you know what I mean? If they're getting targeted a lot and they have opportunities for interceptions and whatnot. But if you think about to the days of Revis and especially in Raiderland, you think about Asamoah, like you just wouldn't hear from Nnamdi for like weeks and weeks at a time. And it was because he just completely removed players, offensive players from existence, much like Amari Cooper, right? Like he would just shut people down and they wouldn't just not throw at him. So I kind of assumed that that's what Conley was doing. We hadn't heard a lot from him because he's been doing a good job, but apparently with Worley coming back, that it's kind of, now look, we do know this. Melvin has played well. All right. And we knew that Worley was a good player. Worley was only available to us because he did something dumb off the field. Otherwise, this guy would be a Philadelphia Eagle right now. So we know he can play. So I don't think it's a too much of a shocker that maybe Conley would get bumped down. But what is the shocking part is that if you'd have told me that in the offseason, I would have been like, okay. But now 4 weeks in, after you think the guy's playing pretty well, then that's, I think, a little bit more of a surprise. But that said, there was a couple of plays this week where he did get burned. You saw him. He was kind of late arriving to a few plays this week. Again, I haven't gone back and watched it and broken it down anything. But, Mikey, just to what my eye told me watching the game live, he was trailing on quite a few plays there.
Yeah, I mean, if I could throw out a stat, even though I'm not as good at you with them, but I kind of remember this one. The Raiders are the worst in the league, giving up the most big pass plays or big explosive plays of over 20 yards in the entire NFL. So, yes, that could be Connolly, a reason why Connolly's losing snaps or this or that. Or, in a conspiracy world, is the Gruden purge continuing? But Gruden today, the quote might not be 100% correct, but it's at least 80% correct. Gruden said in today's press conference, when asked about Gary Connolly, he said that Daryl Worley outplayed Conley all season. He hasn't even been on the team.
Well, but he's talking about in preseason and in camp, and that's what I'm saying. Worley was playing really well. I mean, when he was in there, he was doing really well. I'll hit you with, here's your stat, and this is something that's kind of alarming, Mikey, that the Raiders are allowing 7 yards of play. That's the most after 5 games since the merger in 1970, and that is not a Raiders stat. That is the entire NFL, my brother. That is not good.
So we'll just end it with this. I don't know what's going on. This year is very entertaining and good for the views in terms of my channel and our headlines. But I'm just going to ask you, is this a possible Gruden purge of Reggie McKenzie's draft picks? Again, like the purge continues of Reggie's picks. I don't know.
I don't know either. And, I did some draft stuff on Raiders Fan Radio a few weeks ago, and I got called out. I'm going to mention his name because the guy's very thoughtful in his statements and his takes. The guy's name is Stackanova on Twitter, and he gave me an incredibly lengthy rundown. I think he might even tagged you on it as well. Rundown of Reggie's picks and kind of how it stacks up to other GMs in the league. And his point was, don't look at Reggie's drafts in a vacuum. Look at them as big picture versus the other GMs in the league. And I thought that was a relatively fair approach to do it. So that's why I give him credit here on this show. But I will say this, Mikey, to answer your question, and knowing that what we know about Reggie's draft, the eye test has not been all that great. We've had a lot of high round picks. How many times have we drafted for safety and we don't have one guy starting at safety? You know what I mean? That was like we got these old veterans in it. So what my point is that if Reggie were that successful in drafting to begin with, this purge wouldn't even be a conversation. Those players would be out there making plays, and we wouldn't. Why are we talking about this with Amari Cooper? And look, and that was a good pick. Like nobody begrudges Reggie for taking Amari Cooper, but why is it that, you know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't work out. I mean, and sometimes that's the inexact science of the draft, but look, man, there's way more picks that have not worked out than have. There's really only been 2. If you think the 2 that are absolutely slam dunks, it's been Mac and it's been Gabe Jackson, because I think Carr is still kind of up in the air right now. Don't you?
Yeah, I mean, out of 50 picks, we only have 11 still on the team out of Reggie's years. But it looks like maybe with the contract coming, if Gruden's trying to save money, Amari might not get it. There might be another trade. I don't know. Derek Carr's on the hook for $7 million next year. I don't know what's going on. And then Connolly, he's disgruntled. He was called out in the media. They said Daryl Worley outplayed him, and Connolly is a little bit aggressive. I don't know how he's going to react to that. The benching being a first-round pick coming off an injury. So it's going to be interesting. Okay, these were the inactives. Let's just quickly look at the stats. We're now 1-4. These were the game leaders from the Chargers game because we went into the headlines. There's the team stats. Again, we're just quick. We don't need it. The headlines are more juicy. So that's why I do this on the game review. Yeah. And you probably do this on your show too. So just give everybody I'm looking at the stats.
Yeah, I mean, you can find all this stuff anywhere online. You can just search for it and find all the stats of the game. So when you look at some players that kind of jumped out, so the guys that it wasn't their fault, I thought PJ Hall had a nice game. It was nice to see him healthy and out there, batting down passes. How is it the shortest guy on the field is the one that always knocks down the most passes? And, he did it a bunch in college and blocked kicks and whatnot. And so I think that was nice. And of course, Mo Hurst had another nice game. The one here's my big call out so far this year is Bruce Irvin, Mikey. That guy, look, he had a sack because he was unblocked, and every time he gets to the quarterback, it's because he's unblocked. But then he hauls off and does this moronic freaking personal foul by blasting Phillip late and blasts him up high. Like, dude, how many years have you been in the league and you're supposed to be a captain and a leader on this defense and you're hauling off and doing dumb crap like that? And then when you look at him when he rushes the passer, Mikey, he takes the widest freaking angles and tries to work back inside. He's like 8 yards away from the quarterback by the time Phillip lets the ball loose. Like, I'm just not impressed with Bruce. He barely showed up on the stat sheet. Like, where is he, man? Come on now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love Markel Lee. Again, with respect, he's been on your show, and he's an amazing dude. And he's played great all year. He's even replaced Derek Johnson. But in summary, this was his worst game. And he'll even admit that. Remember, he had the penalty fighting late, whether he was thrown down or not. But this was his worst game for whatever reason. The running back shot of the field by the Chargers, we all knew it was going to happen with Eckler and everything, and they just could not handle him. And in my opinion, again, I'm not a good game watcher or an analyzer, but Arden Key, he didn't follow the running back. He just kept rushing the passer. Every time a running back got handed the ball on the outside or thrown the ball, he would let me just keep going to the quarterback. Same thing with Bruce Irvin. Let me just keep going to the quarterback. And then even in today's press conference, Gruden mentions that. He goes, no, we need to follow the running back. Our linebackers and defensive line need to pursue the running back. That was even stated today. But, boy, it looked bad. It just looked bad.
Don't you hate it? Like, here's the thing that I think what hurt so bad about watching this game this last week was that didn't it feel to you like this? I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter who our coach is. It doesn't matter who our quarterbacks are. It doesn't matter who's on the field. We get beat the same way by the same teams. Like, I was having flashbacks to Jamal Charles when Eckler was running down the field on those screen passes. I'm like, how long have we been getting torched by screenplays? And I'm not talking about giving up 5 or 7 yards. I'm talking about we give up 45 and a touchdown on a screenplay. I'm like it's just like the curse of a Raider fan, Mayor. I'm like, what is the deal with our football team? We get beat the same way regardless of who's in charge. It's bananas.
I completely agree. Studs, duds, and sleepers. Let's quickly do it. My stud of the game, if anybody, was Marshawn Lynch for trying to throw that helmet in frustration.
That was the best pass all day.
We felt the same way, every single one of us. We were like, goodness gracious. So he's my stud for the game. My dud, Derek Carr. Decision-making on first down and goal line, and I don't understand what he's thinking about. It's simple. It's simple football. Just go, I don't know, whatever. And my sleeper for the game, if anybody looked good, I've been saying this for weeks. I believe Richard should be used more out of the backfield, not only in the 2-minute offense, and thank goodness he played a little bit good this week, and we got a couple of screen passes to Jalen Richard late, so he was my sleeper, but he should be a stud every week with Marshawn. Give me your studs, duds, and sleepers for the game.
My stud would be Jared Cook. I mean, I think he continues to prove that he's one of the best tight ends in football. Look, everybody's covering the tight end too, but for some reason that guy still finds a way to get open. So take notice of Amari Cooper. As far as duds go, gosh, there's so many, but I would say Bruce Irvin is definitely the dud because, look, there are certain things that are, look, you can't control certain things and certain things you can. And when you're getting personal fouls by hitting the quarterback late, like, especially up high, like, come on, man. Like, in what case does today's NFL do you think that would ever fly at all? Like, that's just a horribly, horribly bad decision. And then as far as sleepers go, gosh, I mean, somebody I would like to see more. There's so much question at so many different positions. I would just say this, that at this point, if you're 1-4, why not let the young guys get some more reps? Let's go ahead and see what Nick Nelson looks like. Let's go ahead and see what some of these younger guys look like. Let's get them out there and get them some reps, and then and maybe we'll find something there. Maybe Nicholas Morrow, people like that, guys that we've seen flash before but hadn't gotten a lot of reps week in, week out.
All right, and then just in summary to you real quickly about your Duds pick of Bruce Irvin, it was announced this week. He did an interview with, I believe, CSN Bay Area, Scott Bayer, and he said, yeah, the Khalil Mack trade hurt him a lot, and he said literally in a statement that it blew their D-line up. And he was whenever he did the interview, he was just at Khalil Mack's house. So this might have been right after the trade, but he literally said it blew our D-line up. So that's showing that emotions are definitely creeping in.
Yeah, well, he can have fun with him in Chicago then next year, because if that's the mindset, then see you goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, I should show the picture, but you can find it on CSN Bear.
Yeah.
Or Bay Area with Scott Bear. All right, it's time for the fun segment. Let's see if we can prove
that close.
Murf is 100% the official Raider superfan. Me and Murf are in a fantasy football league together, and he said he doesn't like fantasy, but he played it, just to please me, and he joined the league, and then he drafted pretty much as many Raider players as he could on the team. And then what happened is I'm actually 4-0 in the league, and then we played each other this week. And he had one or two players that were not Raiders still on the roster. Then I challenged Murf in a video a couple days ago to put the kicker for the Raiders in and what Seth Roberts or Martavius Bryant in the flex. Martavius wasn't available, so he had to go with Seth Roberts. But he put a 100% roster of Raider players in fantasy football against me, the 4-0 big dog. And you've won 2 in a row because the Raiders' high-powered offense.
Yeah, the Raiders against the Cleveland Browns gave me 180 points, and I did very, very well. So I took your challenge gladly to start all Raiders and turned in a 67.
But I respect you. You said it early on our shows. You said, I don't like fantasy, but I'll play it, and I'm going to prove I'm only going to play Raiders. And you really did. So I'm going to give you are the 100% fantasy football Raider super fan.
Thank you, Mikey. And to use an opportunity to show off some to demonstrate that what I say when I am a Raider fan through and through, no doubt. That fantasy football team may not make me a Raider fan, but that always does right there, baby. I carry him with me every day.
I got a tattoo, too, I promise you. I don't know if I should pull off my shirt and show it on air. But I got a tattoo of the Raiders logo right on the small of my back.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay. All right. I thought you were going to say it was on your culo or something. I was going to say, no, Mikey, we don't want to see that.
This is for entertainment purposes. Let's do it.
Do it, Mikey. Do it. Do it, baby. Let's see it. Woo! There it is. Looking good, my man. Love it. That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Love to see that shield back there. You thought you were going to tune into this show and not get a strip tease. We have delivered on the strip tease right here on Mondays with Mikey and Murf. Good job, Mikey. Love it, man. Love it.
There it is. We're back. I hope you guys saw it. I don't know if I have hair all over my back.
No, we can see it.
I don't know how dirty my back is. Believe me, I'm probably like one dirty bear that they would. I'm not gay, but they call me a dirty bear.
No, we can see it. That was cool, man. That was cool.
Yeah, I got a girl's name tattooed. I was in love. Don't ever do that, Raider Nation. Don't ever do that. But in summary, Murph, I just want to say I'm going to make you a shirt somehow that says you are absolutely the 100% fantasy football Raider superfan. You got your butt whooped. I crushed you.
Oh, but, you crushed. Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say I had a girl's name tattooed on me once too. It was Kerry Collins, number 3, but I had to get that removed.
Isn't he a quarterback? I remember that dude.
Kerry Collins, yeah. He was our quarterback. Yeah, my old co-host Sonny used to say, just because you're named after a girl doesn't mean you have to throw like one.
That's a good point. All right, let me turn off these damn screens. All right, we go to London.
Hey, let's celebrate these folks, man. They're awesome.
And I love Crusader Raider and everybody that's involved with silverandblackuk.com. In a fun event, him, Crossbones Kelly, his daughter, they are official 100% Raider superfans as well. They are throwing events this entire week. There we go. In terms of the Raiders in London, they do it every year, but this is a huge year. Like every day they got an event going on. There's Crossbones Kelly. I should have had the picture on screen, but I'm worried about logos and.
Oh, shoot. Sorry. I forgot about that.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Okay.
I don't care anymore. I'm getting tired of this, dude. But they have events. So on Thursday, they're going to have a Jack the Ripper tour with Crossbones Kelly. That sounds fun. I wish I was there. Friday, they're going to have a bus tour. There's a couple of events of bus tours going on. There's a pregame party on Friday as well. Then Saturday, I don't know if they're going to get together, but they call it free with the NFL. Then Sunday, they're going to have a game day brunch the morning of. Then they got the game. And damn it, I forgot I had the logos on screen. But long story short, go to silverandblackuk.com. If you're going to London, maybe on the website they will have videos, trailers. Maybe they'll go live at these events. Go to their Facebook, but go to silverandblackuk.com. And you have anything to say about them in summary before the game preview?
These guys are great. Guys and girls are great. We have Kev on our show this week on Raiders Fan Radio. We did an interview with him, and we've talked a lot with these folks about their events going on over there. Everyone from Scotland to London to all. I don't even know enough about the UK to tell you all the spots in the UK, but everyone we've corresponded with has been amazing, Mikey. And let me tell you this. You want to talk about people that represent the Raiders in a real kind of way, and we all represent them real, but I mean, like they are hardcore Raider fans. I got an email today from a guy in Italy that's going to this game, that's joining up with the Silver and Black UK, and it's like, and in the email, he just details about how proud he's going to be to walk into Wembley Stadium, be part of Raider Nation, to represent a team that it's like his lifelong dream to be able to see them. And, you know, we as fans, right, we have emotional attachments to the team for all kinds of different reasons. But these folks, Mikey, they've gotten it. They're not even in the same country as the team, and they develop these hardcore, passionate fandoms for this team. And I'm telling you, man, these have become some of my all Raider fans are my favorite, but they are definitely unique and fun and just a great group of folks. I can't say enough about it. I'll sit here and gush like John Gruden would about Phillip Rivers if we're not careful. They're great fans over there, so they should be celebrated. And go check them out if you're going to be over there in London for the game.
Yeah, long story short, great people. That's the point that you start with. The Raider fandom is an amazing addition to who they are as great people. So that way we could all coexist. But they're great people. They have concerns. They care. And they're just not, like dead. And they're very passionate, but in a good way. Not with alcohol, not with drugs, or whatever that type of passion leads to on some people. Not everyone. They are great people. They throw events, and these events are amazing. And I hope to get some interviews, like some actual interviews with Crusader Raider, Crossbones Kelly,
cool.
Kevin, just to talk fandom. But I know you'll probably do it because you got an amazing podcast that, we'll talk about later. I promise you, I'm actually going to talk to you about your podcast in a minute. Okay. But let's get into the game expectations. What do you want from this game? What to watch for? Your standouts, predictions? Let's go.
Well, okay. I mean, so I don't know, Mikey. As far as wins and losses go, I mean, I don't know what we're going to expect here. Here's what I'd like to see. I'm starting to reside into the thinking of you just want to see certain things because if we do those things right, then the scoreboard will take care of itself. Every football team I've ever coached, every little league team I've ever coached, I always told my kids the exact same thing. Do the small things right. beat the guy in front of you, do your job, have sound mechanics, play the game the right way, and the scoreboard will take care of itself. The winning takes care of itself when you do those things right. So it's got to start, I think, at the line of scrimmage with the Raiders. I thought we were going to see it this last weekend. As challenged as we were at offensive tackle, the Chargers were equally as challenged with having a couple of young guys starting out there as well. Well, the same thing is the case for the Seahawks. Russell Wilson got sacked 6 times in their opening game against the Broncos. Our pass rush has got to start working free and getting home. And so if they're going to do it, this is one of those kind of teams where we can do it. We should be able to take advantage of that and be able to get to Russell. And then, then offensively, look, the Legion of Boom is officially gone. They no longer exist, and there's going to be some extra mustard on this game for Marshawn. So let him get busy. Let him run the football. Let's pound the rock a little bit. Let's play aggressive football. And again, start at the line of scrimmage and let that man go to work and let Carr do what Carr does. But I think it starts and stops at the line of scrimmage, which means the running game when it comes to offense.
Yeah, my expectations, again, unfortunately, they're very low at this point in the season after everything that's going on. I mean, after last week's win, they were very high. And I was like, our offense is the stuff of legend. Of Gruden legend, and now I'm like, I don't know, but they didn't practice all week for the game this past Sunday. They didn't practice at all. I didn't know if I told you that, but they didn't practice at all because apparently they were too tired, whatever. And now they've left for London today. Gruden in his press conference said they're leaving for London in a couple hours after the press conference because he wants to get the players acclimated because they're so tired and he's depressed and they're so tired. He kept saying, we're tired. I don't like that going into London. That scares me. And then why is he going to London early? Is it to get them acclimated or to do press for the NFL? Is it to do all these events with players? How tired are they going to be? I don't know. It's something that stood out to me, but I don't expect much. I want to win. I don't know. I'm going to get my positivity going. What to look out for is Gruden in London. The fans that love Gruden still love him. The fans that dislike Gruden still dislike him. But I want to see the London crowd come out in support of the Raiders, just like the Raiders do in Oakland every week, regardless of win or loss. That's what I'm looking out for, because I think the Raider fans can make a statement in this game, regardless of Gruden winning, losing. I think the Raider fans can make another statement and fill up the stadium at least 70% like they've done in the previous trips to London. So that's what I'm looking out for. Give me your standout and your prediction from the game.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, I'm so bad at predictions, but how about I pick them to lose? How about I do that? Because that way maybe they'll go against me and they'll win a game and prove old Murf wrong. So I'm going to pick that we get blown out. I'm going to say that the Raiders lose 38-3. How about that? And that maybe get mad at me, Raiders, and maybe that I can reverse the butterfly effect here. Maybe with me being negative, maybe we can turn the tide. So the Raiders are going to go over to Seattle or go over to London. They're going to get blown out by Seattle 38-3. Russell Wilson's going to throw 4 touchdown passes, and Derek Carr's going to, poop on himself back there because he doesn't like getting under pressure. I don't know.
In your scenario, it sounds like a relive of Dennis Allen in London. Will John Gruden be fired after the plane trip home? Will John Gruden be fired right when he hits the airport runway at home? I doubt it. He's got a 10-year contract, but you're giving us shades of Dennis Allen.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to get ugly. Again, I think that, I gave you my matchups there, and I think that's it. I think because if you can't run the football and you can't get to the other team's quarterback, then you're not going to win a lot of football games, man. It's still 11-on-11, and there's still some things, despite all the rule changes and all the different, incarnations that the NFL goes through and the game goes through, some things still hold true. And you still have to play defense. You still have to get to the other team's quarterback, and you still got to be able to run the football on the road. And I know it's a, quote, home game, but it's on the road, man. So we got to run the football, and we got to sack Russell Wilson. That's it.
As you all know, I give my standouts and my predictions on my other show, Mikey's Pregame Fix, every Thursday or Friday, depending on when it comes out. So I won't give it here, but I am worried about Russell Wilson. If we gave up that much yardage sideline to sideline with running backs, What are we going to do with Russell Wilson running out of the pocket? All right, there it is, Murf. That was our new concept show with headlines in the game review.
I like it.
How'd you think it went?
I like it. I thought it had a good flow to it. Some feng shui going on here on Mondays with Mikey and Murf. Hope everybody liked it. I did, man. I thought that was great. I like that format. It was good, free-flowing conversation. We got to everything. Didn't feel like we had to rush through stuff, so I thought that was awesome, man. Great job. Good job putting everything together, man. This is good stuff.
No, thank you. Yeah, coming off of last week, we had to I had to relearn about, when, to communicate and, the back and forth, the debating, because it's a TV show, basically. We're trying to do it, and we have to do it online with a lot of technical issues, so we can't cut people off. It actually doesn't work. So it was nice that we got basically our ebb and flow today with a new segment. I really enjoyed it. I think it was possibly one of our best and cohesive. We weren't mad at each other. We weren't debating hatred or whatever. We were just having a good time, and that's what I want this show to be.
And you got naked.
I got naked. That's always a good time. Whenever a bigger guy with a beard gets naked, it's always a fun time.
I gotta give you props on the beard too, Mikey. It's looking good, man. We got the beard crew going on now too on Mondays with Mikey and Murf. I like it.
Yeah, but I dye it. I buy that 99-cent dye, and I sit there and dye it to make myself look young again.
Not me, man. I'm rocking I'm going with the old silver fox here, man, in the beard. I'm gonna embrace my age.
I'm gonna make a headband that somehow says Mondays with Mike and Murf or has a logo, so I can put it in the merch store, and maybe I can make a couple of dollars.
There you go.
But this is kind of becoming a brand.
Yeah, that's good. I like it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So in summary, I wanted to talk about this real quick.
Okay.
I love your podcast, but you got a lot of adventures out there. You got a lot of websites, a lot of podcasts and all that. And it's great. The general idea, are you allowing any Raider fan with a podcast to be on your network? Is that how it works? Or I kind of forgot. So give me the lay of the land.
Well, thank you. Well, no, so the podcast network is called Murf's Fan Cave. So for those, and first off, thank you for asking. So for those of you that are watching us here on YouTube, you can go to youtube.com/Murf's Fan Cave. It's MURFS Fan Cave, and that's our.
All the links are below.
Okay, so that's our YouTube channel. So we do a show called Raiders Fan Radio, is my main podcast, and we broadcast it live. We live stream it here on YouTube, but mainly we record it as an audio podcast, and that goes out to iTunes and Stitcher and Google Play and iHeartRadio and Spotify, and anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find us. You just look for Murf's Fan Cave, and you'll find it. Okay, so that is Raiders Fan Radio, and that's our main flagship show. The second show that we do is this show. I take the audio version of Mondays with Mikey and Murf, and I put that on the feed as well. And then the third show we have is called the Fan Club Blitz. Now, what that is, to answer your question, is that it is fan clubs all around the country. It's hosted. It's not even hosted by me. It's hosted by the guys that are in the New Jersey chapter of the Black Hole. The Black Hole is the official fan club for one of them for the Raiders, and there are chapters all over the whole country. Well, the New Jersey guys, they host the show, and they reach out to other Black Hole chapters. They reach out to other just booster clubs, official Raiders booster clubs, to other teams sometimes booster clubs, and they'll even go on the road. They went to a Kansas City Chiefs bar and broadcasted live from there, and so a lot of fun. It's a really fun show. So those are the three shows that you can listen to on the Murf's Fan Cave network. So just look for Murf's Fan Cave, like it, subscribe to it, and that would be doing us a solid, man. I do this for fun. This is my hobby, and I love it. I don't golf. I don't work on cars. I don't drink anymore. I podcast. So the best way to support Raiders Fan Radio is by hitting that like, hitting that subscribe, giving us a review, and all of those are much, much appreciated. And thank you to all of you that have done that to this point. And thank you, Mikey, for giving me the platform here to shout all that out.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had a couple of questions, actually, I read it in an email and stuff like that from some fans. Everybody loves you, Murf. I'm the hated one, which is, you know what, if I got to be the martyr, because of my emotions, then so be it. I just got to accept it. But, people were asking, is it called Raiders Fan Radio? And he's got so many shows because any fan can, become a broadcaster and maybe put their show on your platform. And then I just quickly wrote to them. I go, I don't know how it works, but I'll look into it. So that's why I was doing it. I didn't know if that was an option for Raider fans on your network.
Well, you can call. So what I do is that on the Raiders Fan Radio hotline, you can call us at 909-345-3346 and leave us a message. And we do something very similar to your rants line where you play the messages and you respond to them. That's a segment on our show on Raiders Fan Radio, and people can get involved that way. And so we do. So that's when you tune into our show and you hear all those other people, that's what that is that's we call it the Sea of Fans. And so we go into our Sea of Fans mailbag and listen to all those. But you can, I mean, we're not hard to find. We're all over Twitter and social media. You can email us. Everything is either at Raiders Fan Radio or at Murf's Fan Cave. But again, the Raiders Fan Radio is a show on the network. And so, so again, thank you.
Again, I love it. I like it. I want more of it. Thank you very much, Murf, for giving that information. So there it is, Raider Nation. And I implore you to support all Raider podcasters, video makers, support, whether you agree with their opinions or not, they are all putting in some type of hard work to produce and create this content. So don't take it for granted, even mine. So I appreciate that. Murf, any closing statements?
Man.
Oh, wait. Who's playing Monday Night Football? I forgot.
We got the Saints, man. So the Saints, Drew Brees tonight is going to take the record away from Pepe for all-time yardage. And so he's going to have all-time 300-yard games, all-time 400-yard games, all-time yardage. I think all he needs is 201 yards, which is a quarter for Drew Brees. So he's easily going to break that record tonight. So it should be pretty fun. So give me the Saints in that one. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch.
Who are they playing? You didn't mention the opponent.
I don't remember.
All right, Saints it is.
Actually, I don't know. As soon as I heard it, I would remember, but I don't remember off the top of my head who they're playing. Who is it, Mikey? We got to know this stuff, dude.
I'm a Raider fan. I don't know. But I'm sure I got one of the players in fantasy football somewhere. All right. In summary, I just want to thank y'all for tuning in to Mondays with Mike and Murf.
Redskins.
This is actually our three-month anniversary. Who are they playing?
The Redskins. Happy anniversary, Mikey. And then also, tune in so you can root against Alex Smith just because he used to be a Chief.
There you go. I got the Saints in that game as well. I don't want to debate it. I don't care. Thank you for tuning in to Mondays with Mike and Murf. This is our 3-month anniversary, our 12th official show, and I'm not trying to be rude. I don't know how longer I can keep going. I don't know what's happening. I'm trying. So thank you guys for being supporting. Thank you, Murf, for the hard work you put in for this show. And I love you, brother. I
love you too, man. Thank you to you and everybody out there, man. Support what this guy does. And I'm not saying that just to return a favor here. I truly mean it. And it's the reason that I'm part of Mondays with Mikey Murf is because I believe in Mikey. I believe in what he does. And I look at Mikey's OG, man. Mikey started this stuff a long time ago, way before a lot of us started doing this. So definitely support what he does. As he mentioned, a lot of hard work goes into this. A lot of hard work goes into his videos. If you could see the amount of stuff that this guy does behind the scenes, it would blow your mind. So definitely continue to support what Mikey does. It's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. Mikey, I love that you take it. I love your passion first and foremost, but you don't always take yourself so seriously. And you know what? There's plenty of people out there in the world that take themselves way too seriously. And I love the fact that you keep your videos light, and even as mad in times, as passionate as you can be, it's still fun. You know what I mean? And this is all supposed to be fun, and it's fun to watch your videos. So y'all out there, support what this man's doing.
So in summary of the good times we have and the fun we try to have every day in our life, regardless of issues, let's do the catchy theme song to end the show. That's always fun, right? People love my voice. They love me singing. And just in summary, Murf cannot sing because it cuts out the audio. So please forgive us. But let's do it. Let's end the show with a bang. And let's get ready for a big trip in London. I love you, Murf. And here we go with the catchy theme song. It's Monday with Mikey and Murf. We talking Raiders and football dirt. Because we are the best and new Raider talk show. We having good times. Let's go. It's Mondays with Mikey and Murf. And we'll see you on the next show. Tune into Raiders Fan Radio, Murf's Fan Cave, and you're going to get some good info. We love you, and we are out. Let's go, Raiders.